November 27th. I'm Tony T with our NFL Pick Show here for Sunday's action. We have all 12 games. Before we get into just a couple things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Free NFL picks are updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have college football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, World Cup, a lot more. It is a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel, give us that like, that thumbs up. Greatly helps us. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the links to the hot cappers. Get signed up to some of our long-term passes. We've got some really good cappers on our site, like Mindy. Ramona's been hot. I've been doing great in NFL, college football. Click the links. Get signed up to some of our long-term passes. Ben has been the top performer in NFL this year. You'll find our premium picks here at the center of the page. Also, our best bets are featured. Each capper can release one best bet per sport per day, and many of them have, and you'll see many up there on the site, so be sure to get signed up. Our $15 premium pick. Each capper can designate one of their picks from their premium card as a $15 premium pick to introduce their service to new and existing customers. And many of them want to make a good impression because you see a lot of best bets there with a $15 pick. 3 packs are very good value. Check them out. We got some, and Ben has some NFL 3-packs up there for you right now in the different time zones for these start times here. So good time to get signed up. And of course, our pick ticker. If you'd like to purchase your picks a la carte, check out our pick ticker right in the center of the page. Our promo code is TonyT, which will save you 20% off all premium pick packages. You can access our page by clicking the link in the description, then the All Cappers tab, and get signed up. Also, love to hear from you guys, so post your picks in the comments below. Are looking for cappers? You can apply over our website at Tony's Picks down in the footer section. And our podcast. Every pick's in podcast form. Every show's in podcast form. Available on all major platforms. Just search Tony's Picks on your favorite platform. All right, let's get this one started. Ravens versus Jaguars, NFL pick here for Sunday. Baltimore has their running back Edwards, receiver Duvernay, and receiver Robinson questionable. Left tackle's out. Defensive starters healthy. Jacksonville starters are healthy on both sides. Baltimore improved to 7-3 with their 13-3 home win to Carolina. Ravens gained 308 yards with 115 rushing on 30 carries. On defense, they limited the Panthers to 2 yards per rush, 169 passing on 33 attempts. Lamar Jackson, 73% completion rate with 6.3 yards per attempt. He passed for 209 yards and an interception. On the season, Jackson, a 63% completion rate with 6.8 yards per attempt. Jacksonville fell to 3-7 after their 27-17 road defeat at Kansas City as it hit their bye week. Jaguars gained 315 yards with 75 rushing on 16 attempts. Trevor Lawrence completed 72% of his passes, 6.5 yards per attempt. He threw for 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. This season, Lawrence, a 65% completion rate with 6.7 yards per attempt. Ravens have won 4 straight with 2 road games in between there. They've come off the bye to hold the Panthers to 3 points. They've won 4 of 5 on the road. Past 3 games, Baltimore holding teams at 265 yards, 2.7 yards per rush, 6.3 yards per attempt. Ravens are running for 5.2 yards a carry in this period. Jaguars defense in this span allowing 270 passing yards, 8 yards per pass attempt, and not really applying quarterback pressure. The play here will be on Baltimore minus 3.5. Buccaneers and Browns NFL pick Sunday. Fournette doubtful for Tampa Bay with the left guard out. On defense, their nose tackle questionable. Cleveland offensive starters healthy with the corner on defense out. Tampa Bay improved to 5-5 after their 21-16 win to Seattle. And this game played in Germany as they entered the bye week. Bucks gained 419 yards with 161 rushing on 44 carries. Defensively, they limited the Seahawks to under 3 yards per rush with 244 passing yards on 33 attempts. Tom Brady hit on 76% of his passes with 8.9 yards per attempt. He threw for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. On the year, Brady, a 66% completion rate with 6.6 yards per attempt. Cleveland fell at 3-7 with their 31-23 loss on a neutral field to Buffalo. Browns gained 396 yards with 80 rushing on 26 carries. Defensively, they allowed over 5.5 yards per rush to the Bills with 186 passing on 27 carries. Jacoby Brissett completed 68% of his passes with 7.9 yards per attempt. He threw for 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. On the year, Brissett, a 64% completion rate with 7.2 yards per attempt. Past 3 games, Buccaneers allowing 4.8 yards per rush. Chubb and Hunt are quality backs for the Browns. Brissett put up good numbers against the Bills. Bucks running game still sputtering in this period. The play here will be Cleveland plus 3.5. Broncos and Panthers NFL pick Sunday. Denver receivers Judy and Hamler out. A fullback's questionable. Their defensive starters healthy. Carolina receiver Marshall and tight end Thomas questionable. Their fullback doubtful. On defense, a defensive end is out. Denver fell at 3-7 with their 22-16 home overtime defeat to the Las Vegas Raiders. Broncos gained 320 yards, 94 rushing on 28 carries. On defense, they allowed over 4 yards per rush to the Raiders with 298 passing on 37 attempts. Carolina, they sit at 3-8 after their 13-3 road defeat at Baltimore. Carolina gained 205 yards in this one, 36 rushing on 17 carries. Defensively, they held the Ravens just under 4 yards per rush with 193 passing on 33 attempts. Sam Darnold gets the start. Darnold makes his 2022 debut. He's been hit with injuries and just his past ineffectiveness kept him on the bench. A career 60% completion rate with 6.5 yards per attempt. Nearly 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Panthers have covered 4 or 5. Broncos struggling on the road with pass protection, penalties, and in the red zone. They're giving up 4 sacks per game away from home play. Here will be Carolina plus 1.5. Texans and Dolphins NFL pick here for action on Sunday. Houston starters on offense healthy with a corner on defense out. Dolphins starters on offense and defense healthy. Houston fell to 1-8-1 with their 23-10 home defeat to Washington Commanders. Texans produced 148 yards with 21 rushing on 16 carries. They surrendered nearly 4 yards per run to the Commanders with 191 passing on 27 attempts. Kyle Allen gets the start over the bench Davis Mills. Allen has seen no action this season. He has a career 63% completion rate with 6.9 yards per attempt. He has passed for 24 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Miami moves to 7-3 with their 39-17 home win to Cleveland as they hit the bye. Dolphins gained 491 yards in the game with 195 rushing on 33 carries. Tua Tagovailoa completed 78% of his passes with 8.9 yards per attempt. He's passed for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. On the year, Tua a 71% completion rate with 9.1 yards per attempt. Dolphins over in 3 straight, averaging 448 yards and 35 points a game. Their defense has given up 352 yards with 5.4 yards per rush and 25 points. Allen has decent career marks. The play here will be Houston and Miami over 47. Bengals and Titans NFL pick Sunday. Cincinnati running back Mixon out with receiver Chase not expected to play. Starters are healthy on defense. Tennessee, their center is questionable. On defensive linebackers out with defensive end and corner questionable. Cincinnati improved to 6-4 after their 37-30 road win at Pittsburgh. Bengals gained 408 yards with 62 rushing on 24 carries. On defense, they held the Steelers to 4 yards per rush with 249 passing yards on 42 attempts. Joe Burrow completed 61% of his throws with 9.1 yards per attempt. He threw for 355 yards with 4 touchdowns but 2 interceptions. This season, Burrow a 69% completion rate with 7.8 yards per attempt. Tennessee improved to 7-3 with their 27-17 road win at Green Bay on Thursday night. Titans gained 408 yards, 88 rushing on 32 carries. On defense, they held the Packers at 3 yards per attempt with 215 passing on 39 attempts. Ryan Tannehill completed 81% of his passes in this one, 12.3 yards per attempt, all season highs. He passed for 333 yards with 2 touchdowns and a pick. This year, Tannehill a 65% completion rate with 8.1 yards per attempt. Titans have covered 8 straight back-to-back road games for the Bengals after facing a division rival. On the road, the Bengals giving up 4.7 yards per rush with 23 points a game. Extra rest for the Titans in this spot after playing on Thursday, November 17th. And Vrabel's been really good with extra rest here. The head coach, the play here, Tennessee plus 1.5. Bears and Jets NFL pick here Sunday. Chicago quarterback Justin Fields questionable with that shoulder injury. On defense, a safety and corner out. Jets have a left tackle on offense questionable with their defensive starters healthy. Chicago falls to 3-8 with their 27-24 road defeat to Atlanta. Bears gained 288 yards with 160 rushing on 41 carries. Defensively, they limited the Falcons to nearly 5 yards per run with 131 passing on 20 attempts. Completion rate here in this one here for Simeon, it looks like it's going to be here Simeon in this one. Actually, no, we're going to look here at the completion rate here for Fields. 66% for the game, 7.3 yards per attempt. He passed for 153 yards and a touchdown and had a pick. Now in the season, Fields a 59% completion rate with 7.2 yards per attempt. Now, Trevor Siemian would start if Fields is scratched. Now, we're looking here at Siemian at 59% completion rate, 6.6 yards per attempt. He has passed for 41 touchdowns and 27 interceptions in his career. The Jets fell to 6-4 with their 10-3 road defeat to New England. Jets gained only 103 yards in the game, 59 rushing on 23 carries. Defensively, they limited the Patriots to 4 yards per rush with 198 passing on 27 attempts. Zach Wilson's been benched. Mike White makes his 2022 debut. White, a career 67% completion rate, 7.2 yards per attempt, but though he's thrown for 5 touchdowns and 8 picks. Past 3 games, Bears allowing 327 yards with 3.7 yards per rush attempt. Siemian has experience as a starter in this league. White in his second year and really struggles with turnovers. The play here will be Chicago +7. Falcons Commanders NFL pick Sunday. Atlanta guard is questionable on offense. On defense, and linebacker questionable. Washington tight end Thomas questionable. On defense, Chase Young questionable, and a corner is out. Atlanta improved to 5-6 with their 27-24 home win to Chicago. Falcons gained 289 yards with 149 rushing on 33 carries. On defense, they held the Bears to 4 yards per rush, 128 passing yards on 21 attempts. Marcus Mariota completed 65% of his passes with 6.6 yards per attempt. He threw for 131 yards and a touchdown. On the year, Mariota a 62% completion rate with 7.5 yards per attempt. Washington enters at 6-5 after their 23-10 road win at Houston on a short week. Commanders posted 344 yards with 153 rushing on 40 carries. On defense, Washington held the Texans just over 1 yard per rush with 127 passing yards on 33 attempts. Taylor Heineke completed 55% of his passes with 7.1 yards per attempt. He passed for only 191 yards on the year. Heineke a 61% completion rate with 7 yards per attempt. Past 3 games, Commanders allowing 238 yards, 2.9 yards per rush, but the offense producing only 313 yards and 3.7 yards per attempt and only 56% completion rate. Falcons defense over this period allowing only 319 yards, 5.9 yards per pass attempt. The play here will be on Atlanta at +4. Raiders and Seahawks NFL pick Sunday. Running back Jacobs questionable for Las Vegas with a left tackle also questionable. Defensively, linebacker questionable. Seattle right tackle questionable with defensive starters healthy. Las Vegas improved to 3-7 with their 22-16 road win at Denver. Raiders gained 407 yards in this one, 109 rushing on 24 carries. On defense, they held the Broncos to 3 yards per carry with 226 passing yards on 31 attempts. Derek Carr completed 62% of his passes with 8.3 yards per attempt. He threw for 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seattle, they fell to 6-4 after their 21-16 loss to Tampa Bay in Germany as they hit their bye week. Seahawks gained 283 yards, 39 rushing on 14 carries. On defense, they allowed nearly 4 yards per rush to the Bucs with 258 passing yards on 30 attempts. Geno Smith, 70% completion rate, 8.3 yards per attempt. He passed for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the season, Smith a 73% completion rate with 7.8 yards per attempt. At home, though, the Seahawks are moving the football for only 311 yards and 6.1 yards per pass attempt. To play here, Las Vegas +4. Chargers and Cardinals NFL pick Sunday. Charger receiver Williams out. On defense, a safety doubtful and corner questionable. Cardinals receiver Rondale Moore out, and on defense, a corner out. LA fell to 5-5 after their 30-27 home defeat to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chargers put up 365 yards with 115 rushing on 30 carries. Defensively, they surrendered 6 yards per rush to the Chiefs with 322 passing on 34 attempts. Justin Herbert completed 77% of his passes with 9.3 yards per attempt. He threw for 280 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. This year, Herbert a 66% completion rate with career low 6.6 yards per attempt. Arizona fell to 4-7 after their 38-10 defeat in Mexico City on Monday night to the San Francisco 49ers. Looking here at this Arizona team, the Cardinals posted 314 yards with 67 rushing on 24 carries. On defense, Arizona allowed nearly 6 yards per rush to the 49ers with 228 passing on 29 attempts. Kyler Murray returns after missing 2 games with a hamstring injury. This season, Murray a 67% completion rate with 6 yards per attempt. Cardinals have lost 4 of 5. Murray under center with the exception of a home win on Thursday night to New Orleans. And, of course, that's where they've lost the 4 of 5 with Murray under center. The only win was against New Orleans with Andy Dalton throwing those picks. At home, Arizona allowing 420 yards a game, 4.5 yards per rush, 298 passing, 8.1 yards per attempt. To play here will be LA Chargers -3. Rams and Chiefs, NFL pick here. This one goes off here on Sunday. Stafford out for the Rams, as well as Kupp and their center. Receiver Robertson and tight end Higbee questionable. Rams left tackle and left guard questionable. Kansas City receiver Tony out with left guard questionable. On defense, a safety questionable. LA fell to 3-7 with their 27-20 road defeat to New Orleans. Rams gained 336 yards in this one with 148 rushing on 30 carries. Defensively, they allowed 3.5 yards per rush to the Saints with 235 passing yards on 28 attempts. Bryce Perkins gets the start as the Rams backup Wolford also injured. In mop-up duty, he has completed 54% of his passes with 5.5 yards per pass attempt. Perkins saw a lot of work in the preseason as the Rams set starters in all 3 games. Kansas City moved to 8-2, a 30-27 road win at the Chargers. Chiefs posted 485 yards with 163 rushing on 27 carries. Defensively, they allowed nearly 4 yards per rush to the Chargers with 250 passing yards on 30 attempts. Patrick Mahomes completed 59% of his passes with 9.7 yards per attempt. He threw for 329 yards and 3 touchdowns. This year, Mahomes a 66% completion rate with 8.2 yards per attempt. Rams are 30th ranked offense in the NFL and 31st in running. Not much help for third string Perkins here. The play here, Rams and Kansas City under 42.5. Saints and 49ers NFL pick Sunday. New Orleans left guard questionable. On defense, a linebacker out with both defensive ends and corner questionable. Samuel here questionable for San Francisco with Armstead doubtful on defense. New Orleans improved to 4-7 with their 27-20 home win to the LA Rams. Saints put up 323 yards with 88 rushing on 24 carries. Defensively, they surrendered 5 yards per run to the Rams with 188 passing on 28 attempts. Andy Dalton, 84% completion rate, 10.4 yards per attempt. He threw for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. On the road this year, Dalton, a 63% completion rate with 7.2 yards per attempt. He's thrown 5 touchdowns and 5 picks on the highway. San Francisco improved to 6-4 after their 38-10 road win at Arizona. 49ers gained 387 yards, 159 rushing on 28 carries. On defense, they held the Cardinals to under 3 yards per rush with 247 passing yards on 44 attempts. Jimmy Garoppolo completed 69% of his passes, 7.9 yards per attempt. He threw for 228 yards and 4 touchdowns. On the year, Garoppolo, a 67% completion rate with 8.1 yards per attempt. New Orleans has failed to cover 4 straight on grass. Past 3 games, Saints averaging only 251 yards with 3.1 yards per attempt and allowing 4.9 yards per rush. Dalton against good defensive teams on the road, a major concern to play here. San Francisco at -9. Packers and Eagles NFL pick Sunday. Green Bay receiver Dobbs out with the left tackle questionable. Our linebackers doubtful on defense. Eagles starters healthy on offense and defense. Green Bay fell to 4-7 with their 27-17 home defeat to Tennessee Titans. Packers gained 271 yards in this one, 56 rushing on 19 carries. On defense, they allowed another 3 yards per run to Tennessee with 320 passing yards on 29 attempts. Aaron Rodgers completed 61% of his passes with 5.8 yards per attempt. He threw for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. This season, Rodgers a 64% completion rate with 6.8 yards per attempt. Philadelphia improved here to 9-1 in 18-16 road win at Indianapolis Colts. Eagles gained 314 yards with 141 rushing on 33 carries. Defensively, they limited the Colts to under 4 yards per rush with 185 passing yards on 32 attempts. Jalen Hurts completed 72% of his passes with 7.6 yards per attempt. He passed for 190 yards and a touchdown on the year. Hurts career highs here, 68% completion rate with 8.3 yards per attempt. Eagles have failed to cover 3 straight. In this period, they're averaging 313 yards. Packers defense has played well, holding teams to 22 points a game. In this period, the play here will be on Green Bay plus 6.5. All right, that was our NFL pick show here for Sunday. Make sure to like, subscribe, and set notifications. Be live with us to get these picks. Also, be sure to visit Tony'sPicks.com here for our best bets of the day. And, of course, our morning show returns here on Sunday at 9 a.m. each time. It's the Morning Steam with Ramon and Mindy. All right, Tony T will be back here later on with some NBA and college basketball picks. Talk to you guys later.